Wow.
Listen to that Luther High School student crew. Hello, crew. You guys are very important. Thanks for being with us in the Blood Center of Wisconsin phone bank. 784-KIDS, 784-5437. Invite you to pick up the phone, call in a pledge, talk to one of our Luther High School representatives that are here this afternoon. So, hi, family.
Hi.
Hey, we have the Hurd family with us, and Tessie is here, Grant is here. We have Mighty Mason, and we have Maverick.
Yep.
And now there's two that aren't here today. You are now foster
We
parents.
are foster parents now.
So, you have 4 little boys?
Yes.
And what ages?
1, 2, 3, and 3.
Oh.
Never a dull moment at my house.
No, I think I know what you're doing all day.
Yeah.
And Grant, you work outside the house, don't you?
Yes, I do.
You just How are things going? Mason looks great to me.
He's doing fantastic.
Is he feeling good?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
too good sometimes.
Okay.
Too good.
So let's start back at Mason's the beginning of his journey. Now some of this is going to take you back, and it's probably gonna probably make us all tear up a little bit. But if you could share his story, only you can do it.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
All right.
Shortly after he was born, it became very apparent that something was just not right with him. There was no crying. He was trying so hard to cry, but all that was coming out was a whimper. And you looked at him, and he was struggling to breathe. He was not moving. All his limbs were just flopped out. So the doctors, they did it very well, where I wasn't super concerned, just because they took him, they dealt with him, they brought him to see me, and then they very casually called the NICU. We got him into recovery. I held him for 15 minutes, and somebody from the NICU came down and said, we need to go take him up for observation. And so at that point, I had only seen him for 15 minutes. I took him up for observation. I heard the word observation and thought, he'll be back in my room in, half an hour. They're just checking him out. Well, it turns out that after we got back up into the actual room out of recovery, because he was born via emergency C-section, so it was quite the ordeal. They came into the room, and Dr. Strauss, the NICU doctor, came in and said that there was genetic markers, and that it was throwing up some red flags, and they needed to check him out for some genetic conditions.
Did you know at that point what that meant? Did you have any idea?
I was completely blind to it. I had some complications towards the end of my pregnancy, and I chalked it all up to that. I wanted to just assume everything was going to be fine. It had nothing to do with these genetic markers that they were seeing, and I was just playing ignorance, I think, and I wanted to believe that everything, eventually, he was going to come out of it.
Well, it's your first baby. You know, you really had nothing.
I had no idea
history.
and we don't really have any history in our families of genetic conditions. We were young parents. You always hear that it's older parents, or you don't hear of the 21 and 22-year-old parents who have a child born with a genetic condition. And that's what our lives turned into. It was weeks and weeks in the NICU. It was specialists after specialists come see him. We had genetics, we had neurology, we had cardiology, we had just anybody and everybody in and out of his room, making sure everything was fine internally. And at that point, I had shut down to the fact that there was a possibility that things weren't going to go as planned.
I can't even imagine. A new mom, your first baby, and you have these specialists running in and out, and you don't know if you're going to be taking your baby home.
Yeah. And I was at 4 days, Grant had to go back to work. I was discharged to, try not to cry.
Okay.
I was discharged out of my room, and I was discharged by myself straight down to the NICU. And it was just me and Mason in his room, and there was a lot of tears shed. My mom eventually left work and came and sat with me. And at that point, it started hitting me, because it was, we were past the point of things going well. I was discharged without him, and that's when it hit me that things were not going as planned. He ended up being needed a feeding tube to eat, and there was days where we were excited if he got 8 cc's of milk, if he would drink that verbally. Yeah, no, that's less than 1/3 of an ounce, and 8 cc's was exciting for us.
So things didn't start out as you had planned.
No.
You're having to tell family and friends that
I kind of kept it on the down low.
Did you?
I was so afraid of people distancing themselves from Mason and distancing themselves from us when they found out that he may have a genetic condition. And the complete opposite happened. We've had an overwhelming support of people that have just absolutely fallen in love with him. He brightens wherever he goes. His teachers love him. His therapists love him. He's amazing.
How long was Mason in the hospital?
He was in the hospital for 18 days, and today is actually his NICU graduate anniversary.
Did you hear that? It's his graduate anniversary.
Yes.
So Mason has been out of the NICU for 3 years?
3 years today.
3 years today. That deserves another one.
Yes.
Okay. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to remind people right this very minute to pick up the phone and call in their pledge.
Absolutely.
At 784-KIDS, 784-5437. So now we're heading home. Are you scared to death?
Yeah, we were discharged with the feeding tube. So before we even left, I had to learn how to place the feeding tube. I had to learn how to we had to remove the milk from his stomach to make sure he wasn't overeating. We had to just check everything because he wasn't able to tell us when he was hungry. He wasn't able to tell us when he was too full. We had to make sure the feeding tube was placed in the right place and it hadn't moved. And it was just a huge, huge learning curve for us.
You know, I can just imagine you walking through the front door of your house, getting in the house and thinking, where are those nice nurses?
Yeah.
Why didn't
we
they
were
come
home for less
with
than
us?
2 hours and we had to replace his feeding tube because it moved.
Oh, you know.
Yeah.
While we were sitting here, I don't know if you guys know this or not yet, but we've already had 3 calls come
That's
in.
fantastic.
Let's hear it for the 3 calls.
Woo.
784-KIDS, 784-5437. Now, to look at the child right now, you wouldn't know that the struggles that you guys all had together even took place.
No.
How's he doing?
He's doing great. He was also diagnosed in the past year with epilepsy and central hypothyroidism.
Okay.
He hasn't had a seizure since July.
Right.
And hopefully we keep up with that.
How do you watch for that? Can you sense it when something's coming on?
I kind of can. Sometimes he'll start acting up and you can just tell something's off and he's trying to figure out what his body is about to do. He has complex partial seizures, so his seizures are more just staring, and they're hard to detect sometimes. But lots of times because of his low muscle tone and just seizures in general make you wear out. So he completely just passes out after a seizure, and that's our number one tell that it was a seizure and not just he's tired.
Is he on a certain medication?
Yeah, he is taking Keppra twice a day. And that is just one of his medications. He takes multiple medications. One of them is for allergies. Because of his low muscle tone, he can't sneeze and cough the way another kid would.
Okay.
So he does have a low muscle tone. The Singular helps with that. He takes medication for his hypothyroidism, and he takes growth hormone every night
To help
grow muscles, everything.
Yeah.
It helps in numerous ways.
So along comes Maverick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you guys have a busy little household.
We
don't
do.
you?
We do.
Well, what we're going to do, how many calls should we go for? I'm trying to think of a really good number. What's the date today?
The 20th.
The 20th. Let me see if we can come up with a number. Let's go for 10. Should we go for 10?
Yes, absolutely.
That sound good? Okay, we're going to go for 10. It's 784-KIDS or 784-5437. The Luther High School students, they're ready to answer the phones. I think we already have one on the phone right now, so we'll see
Awesome.
how that shakes out. So, Children's Miracle Network, let's get back to that.
Yeah.
How did you, did you just meet them for the first time here, or what happened?
Before we even left the NICU, Children's Miracle Network was there. They gave us a grant to help get to and from work every day because I wasn't able to drive. My mom would drop me off here in the mornings because I had a C-section, and they also helped me while in the NICU just with food vouchers. Something as simple as $5 per meal gave me the peace of mind where I could run down here quick when the nurses would kick me out of the NICU.
You are not the first family that has said that today. They said, $5 when you're not thinking about taking care of yourself. You might not even have your purse with you.
Yeah.
It was huge. It went a long way. You're not the first one to
Especially when
today.
I wasn't able to drive and I was here by myself. So $10 a day, because most NICU moms do not get out of the NICU for 3 meals. $10 a day could feed a NICU mom. Just $10. And that's amazing. And then before he left, I was able, with some of the grant money, to run it and buy a bunch of different bottles. We had to find like the magic potion, I guess, so to speak, to try to get him to drink.
Well, I'm sure, because, I mean, you had to find a bottle that worked.
Yeah. I went and I spent hours at Target, Walmart. I went to every different store, tried their generic brands. We bought just tons of bottles, and we found the magic bottle, and we were, thanks to Children's Miracle Network, we were able to get him off the feeding tube at 8 weeks old.
And I bet you were ready to get rid of that feeding tube.
Yes.
Grant, I bet you felt pretty good when that feeding tube was out of there.
Oh, yeah.
Did that make you nervous?
Not really.
He doesn't get nervous.
You don't get nervous?
No.
You have nerves of steel.
Yeah.
So somebody's waiting to make the decision whether to pick up the phone and make a pledge. What do you think you would say to them to help them make their mind up?
It's seriously something as simple as $5-10. People think that's not a lot, but that adds up. And if you can feed a NICU mom for a day where she doesn't have to worry about that, you give somebody a peace of mind that they have their meals provided for them. And for me, that was huge. Children's Miracle Network even provided safety for Mason when they were willing to fund us to help us get a car seat that helped regulate his body temperature and worked well with his low muscle tone, because he has a really hard time regulating his body temperature, and he would overheat in his car seat, and it was just getting rough. And we've noticed increased seizures if his body temperature rises. So it was just huge for us to be able to get this car seat.
You guys have learned a lot, haven't you,
Yes.
in the last 2 years?
Yeah.
You know, now that you mention it, in the NICU today, there's 13 little babies up there today.
Yeah.
And there's one in the PICU today. And yesterday there was 12, and we were hoping the number would be going down, and it's going up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of families. I mean, you just don't know.
It's something you don't expect either. I mean,
Exactly.
Mason was born at 38 weeks, close to 38 weeks,
Yeah.
and we were told everything should be fine, and we didn't plan for that. We made it almost full term. Literally, as they were wheeling me back for my C-section, they said, everything should be fine. You're close enough to the end. We should be fine. And we were not expecting Prader-Willi syndrome by any means.
I don't think anybody does.
No.
But you know what? You guys are a testament. And now here you are expanding your family with foster care. Let me tell you something. Those 2 little foster boys, they have a good gig going with you guys. They have a
Thank
good,
you.
and thank you for doing everything you do as
Yeah.
a family. I think what we're going to do is ask for the calls. It's 784-KIDS, 784-5437. And we want to thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
stopping in, bringing the boys today. They've been so good playing. And you're right. They were going to play cars, and they
Yes,
played cars.
they like cars.
Yep, they like cars. I think you just need to buy cars at your house.
Yeah,
which is fine.
well, we have those, but
Yeah, well, good.
not enough for 4 boys, I guess.
You guys, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it so much. You're listening to the Children's Miracle Network Radiothon 2017, a service of the La Crosse Media Group.